Katrina's Creations. This is episode 120, and I'm filming in my kitchen today because I have the house all to myself, and rather than lug all of the camera and the computer and all the projects upstairs where it's really chilly because we've had snow, I thought I'd sit down here in my kitchen with my cup of tea. I never usually have tea on the program because by the time I carry everything upstairs and the teacup, usually half of it's down the front of me. And we don't want that to happen. So anyway, I am drinking tea, and this is a cute little mug I thought I would share with you. See, it looks like knitted cable stitches. It is by a company called Mud Pie. I've had this for quite a few years, so I don't know if it's still available or not. I got it on Amazon, I think about $15, something like that. But anyway, it's cute. And it's like an oversized mug. And just in case you're interested, what am I drinking? I'm drinking Red Rose Lemon Cake. And it tastes just like lemon cake. It's really good. My husband and I grocery shop once a month, and we go up to like a scratch and dent grocery place. And they sometimes have tea and K-cups and stuff like that. Yeah, they had a box of these for 75 cents. So every time I see them, I grab them because they're really good. So that's what I am drinking today. And I am wearing a sweater that I knit actually 5 years ago. I've only worn it a couple times because, in all honesty, I don't care for it. It has bell sleeves, and they're actually supposed to be deeper than this. I don't like bell sleeves because I tend to catch them on everything, and things tend to fall down inside the sleeves. And these are small. They were originally almost like down to here, so I cut them back some. The other thing I'm not crazy about this, and this is just my own personal taste, this stitch right here is reverse stockinette. If you look at the inside, it looks like real stock, like your regular stockinette, but you wear it reversed. And that's just not a favorite look of mine. I just never have cared for reverse stockinette. This is, I believe it's Red Heart yarn, and it's a sage color. I don't know how well it's going to show up on the video, but it is a sage color green. I will insert a picture of me wearing this so you can kind of see it a little bit, but it's just not to my taste. The pattern name actually came out of a book by, I believe her name is Victoria Square. I'll put the information down below right here of how the pattern, because I couldn't even begin to pronounce it, but the book it came out of is a whole bunch of sweater patterns that are based on kimonos, and it's called Kimono or Kimono 2. There's two different books. So anyway, and I have made other sweaters and I liked them, but this particular one, for most people, it might be fine. For me and my shape, it doesn't do any favors. We'll just say it that way. But I will insert a picture of me wearing it so you can see what it looks like. It doesn't close real well across certain portions, which shall be nameless. But this is what the sweater looks like. And this is the sleeves. And here's the back. This is what the back looks like. And it has little threads you'll see kind of woven up through it right in here. This is an embroidery floss. It's just a decorator detail that they had to put in it. So let's get on to the works in progress. We'll get started with my Flax light sweater. I am almost through my first skein of the solid color. That's all I've got left. I have plenty of this yarn, so I'm not worried about it. And this is what I've got left of my first skein of the hand dyed. And I have one more skein of this. I do have to reserve some of the next skein for the sleeves, because if you remember with this sweater, the sleeves you go back and finish afterwards, so you can see that they are actually tied off right here. These are the sleeves. And right now they're sort of like short sleeves, but I have to knit those into this yet. So I want to make sure I reserve enough so I can stripe it down here the same as the rest of the sweater. So eventually the bottom part of the sweater will just be this. So it's kind of fading down from striped down to just a solid. And the sleeves will do the same thing. They will eventually go down to being solid at about the same same length all the way around. So how far have I gotten on it since last week? I have knit about 2 inches. You can see here's where I was last week, and I've gotten up to here. Now, you knit it from the top down. So if I flip this up this way, here's where my underarms begin, is here. So from the underarms down to where I'm at is probably about 5 inches. The pattern calls for from the underarm down, I believe it's 17 or 17 and a half. Yeah, for my size, it tells that the pattern should be 17 and a half inches from the underarm down. Now I measured that. I'm very short-waisted, so if I knit it 17 and a half inches, it's going to be like a tunic. It's going to be a little longer than what I prefer. So I'm going to actually shorten it. I will probably make mine somewhere around 14 or 15 inches because I like it to ride just a slightly lower than my waist, like to the top of my hips. I don't like things over the top because I tend to wear skirts all the time, and I think long tunic tops look kind of funny with a skirt. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I am going to shorten it a little bit just because I'm short-waisted. So that is my Flax light sweater. So that's project number 1. Project number 2 are the socks that I'm working on for the tutorial. Now, if you watched the tutorial, it was on Wednesday, and it's for knitting socks 2 at a time in the magic loop method. If you missed that tutorial, if you click on the little eye over here, that will take you up to it, and you can watch it. This week's video for the tutorial is going to be doing the heels for the 2 at a time sock. So let me show you how far I am. And I also wanted to share a tip. I am going to share the same tip with the tutorial, but I just thought I would share it with you guys now. It looks like I'm knitting 2 completely different socks because one is red and one is green, but the 2 colors do intermix. But anyway, here's how far I've gotten on each of my socks, and they're equal. Now, the little tip I was going to share with you is when I first started knitting socks 2 at a time, sometimes I would lose track which sock I was on, and I would end up knitting the same sock over and over and over again. So I'd end up with a short sock and a long sock until I thought about how to do this. I have these little stitch markers, the type that look like little safety pins. I put 1 stitch marker here, 2 stitch markers on this one. Then when I turn it around to work on this side, I have, this one would be the first sock I would work on. So it has 3 little stitch markers, and this one has 4. So it's just a simple way to keep track. So if I have to stop midway, I know which side I stopped on. I try to make sure that if I'm going to sit down to knit on these, I do, side 1, side 2, side 3, side 4. But if I would have to stop, I at least can remember which one I was working on. And it also just mentally, I can remember 1, 2, 3, 4, and know that I haven't skipped a sock, so that one sock does not end up longer than the other one. So, yeah. So anyway, here they are. They are black and white and gray, and this kind of a red. It's not a bright red, but it's kind of a faded out kind of red, and a deep teal, and then there's a gray in it too. And here's my 2 skeins of yarn. Now I'm making shorty socks. The pattern I'm using it is a free pattern from Ravelry. It's also it's by Marie Turner. It's called Marie's Basic Sock Pattern. And apparently you can also get this pattern at www.greenelf.ca. So it's a Canadian, I think that's what the CA is for, is Canada. So it is for a regular size pair of socks, but I am making them into just shorty socks because I tend to wear ankle socks all the time. I don't like socks going up my legs. because I tend to wear them as slippers. So, yeah, so I am going to modify these. They're not going to have the big leg to them. They are just going to go right to the heel next. So stay tuned Wednesday for the next tutorial for the socks. The next thing I am working on is my basket wave pattern, and I have finished the third blue section. So here it is. This one is called Sapphire. This one is Bluebird. This is Breeze. And I'll show this. These are all variations of basket weave pattern. Or some of it, this actually is a double seed stitch. And then it goes into a basket weave pattern. And the fourth color I'm going to be using, this was part of the Party of Five Sweet Georgia sock set. And it's the Tough Love sock yarn. This one is called Chill. And I'll hold this up so you can see it. It's all of these are tonal blues, but this is kind of a real light gray blue. And it has some grays in it. I'm not sure how well it's going to show up. But there you go. So this is the next color that will be going into the pattern. And this is all I have left of my first skein of the Carlton yarn. So it's really soft. I'm real happy with it so far. This version of this pattern is turning out so much better. So here's what it looks like on one end where it's real skinny. And then you have it going across to the widest section. So there it is at this point. The next project I'm working on is the scarf for my husband. And I am doing the Cirrus scarf. This is also a free pattern, and it is by Hilary Smith Callis. And I've gotten a little bit further on this week. I've only put actually maybe about 6 rows in because it is 355 stitches. You're knitting this scarf lengthwise instead of going back and forth this way. You're knitting it the long stretch. So this is what the back looks like. This is all linen stitch. So the back looks just kind of bumpy. The front looks like weaving. You can see it here. So it's very, very soft on this side. This side has texture to it. The yarn does have a halo to it. This was yarn that came in a Knit Crate box a few months ago. The color is called Mouse. And I believe this is a sport weight or DK. I think it's DK. It's a DK weight. And my husband likes it so far. It's not going to be ready for this year. He's going to have to use it for next winter. Although we have snow on the ground right now. We did get about 5 inches over the weekend. And this weekend they're calling for more, but I don't know how much. We've had a lot of snow this year, but we don't tend to get, where I live, we don't tend to get like really, really big snows. The majority of our snows run between 2 and 6 inches. So, you know, you're inconvenienced for a day. So it's not usually a big deal. We get dumped on once in a while when a nor'easter comes up. Then we might get a foot or more of snow, but it doesn't happen like every year type of thing. Although I don't mind it because it means I don't have to go to work and I can just stay home and sit in front of the heater and knit or crochet. So that's my kind of day. That's what I did on Monday. My work didn't end up closed, but all of our stops were canceled because the schools were closed. And so on Mondays, I'm on the truck that goes to the little daycares. And so they were closed. We follow the school schedule. So if the school's closed, we don't go out on the road. Or if the snow emergency plan's in effect, we don't go out on the road. So I just decided, why should I drive 45 minutes to work to sit in the office and the roads were kind of nasty and it was supposed to turn into ice. And I was like, no, I've got the leave. I'm going to take off. So I took off and I stayed home and just stayed nice and cozy and watched it snow. And I knitted and crocheted all day long. So I had a wonderful time. So, yeah, I don't mind those. We could have those all the time. My last project that I'm working on is last week's shrunken head. If you remember, I held up the crochet work that just had the doll's head done, and I said it looked like a crocheted shrunken head. So she does now have a body, and I've tamed her hair. She got a haircut. So here's the doll, and here is her little ponytail, and she's wearing a tutu. So I have to put the legs and her arms on yet. But there she is, and this is going to be for my granddaughter. She has her very first ballet recital in May, and so I am going to give this to her as a memento. I do have to do something right along here because you can see my color change happened right there. So I think I'm just going to use some of this yarn and just put a little edging around here so that it kind of covers that. And then her legs, where the bottoms of her feet would be, I'm going to do like the crochet hook went flying. I'm going to do the bottom part of her feet with this so they look like little ballet shoes. And I'm going to then crochet just some little chain stitches so I can lace them up her legs so it looks like, you know, like they're laced onto her legs like ballet shoes would be. I did fix her eyeball too. One of you told me how to remember last week, this one was kind of protruding out of her eye or out of her head a little bit. And somebody had told me, why don't I try pulling it through and anchoring it in the back of her head? And so that's what I did. Now this is a safety eye, so it's sort of like the back of an earring. It's like a post, and then it has the back piece that snaps on. So what I did is I actually looped around. I made it like a slip knot, and I slipped it over that back portion and got it hooked onto this section and then drew it tight. And then I pulled it through the back of her head. It's actually coming out in her hair back here. And then I just knotted it there. So it is, her eyes look much better than they did. They look a little bit more even. So she's no longer Martina Feldman. So, yeah, she looks much better. Like I said, I gave her a haircut because it was a little straggly. So she's ready to go other than her arms and legs. So that will be this week's project for her. Now we're going to check out what you all are making. But before I show it to you, I did want to tell you a little bit more detail about some of the things you're going to see. Pam, who started us all on the fractal doily, when she sent that in, and I kind of went, oh, I like that. And several of the rest of us all kind of went, oh, we like that. So we decided to do the doily along. Pam also tried her first filet crochet. Now, if you haven't seen filet crochet, look it up. It's very interesting. It's crochet that kind of looks like netting, but it has a motif crocheted into it, which could be like initials. It could be like a house or a tree, some kind of a motif that is crocheted actually into it. And Pam actually crocheted her name into the doily that she made. And I got to laughing. I said, if I ever did something like that, I would be spending so much time concentrating, trying to get the name in, I would probably finish the whole thing and realize I spelled it wrong. That's the type of thing that would happen to me. Yeah, hers looks really, really gorgeous. So she sent in a picture of that. Charlene actually finished a sweater. She used some Red Heart yarn. It was a lace yarn. I believe it was Red Heart. And it was a lace yarn. I do know that. And she paired it together with some Hobium yarn. So she made a sweater, and it's really, really pretty. Pam has also made a pineapple swing sweater, which I really like, but I'm not at that point by any stretch at this point. But I do like the sweater. It's very, I like swing sweaters because they're kind of A-line. They kind of flare out, which for my hips would be a wonderful thing. So there's a picture of that. And Beverly sent in a quilt that she's working on, as well as she finished the big granny square, the modified granny square that she had shown last week. She actually has finished that. So yeah, there's lots of things to check out. And so I'm going to let that footage roll now so you guys can see what everybody else is making. Now, we had a giveaway last week for a pattern, and the winner was Sharon Quinn. Sharon has not come forward yet. I do know she watches the podcast regularly, so we are going to give it one more week. I always give winners 2 weeks to come forward. So Sharon, please get in touch with me either by Katrinascreations@yahoo.com, or you can get hold of me through Ravelry and message me through there. You are the winner, and you can pick whatever or how many patterns you would like from Ravelry up to $8 US. So, yeah, get in touch with me. You have one more week, which will be February 22nd. So if I don't hear from you by then, which is a Friday, which is when I record usually, if I don't hear from you by then I will have to draw another winner. So, anyway, that is that information. Now we have a doily along. Like I said, there's several of us that really were attracted to that fractal doily and are going to be making that. But you are welcome to make a doily of your choice. You can knit it, you can crochet it, whatever, as long as it's a doily. And it is going to start March 1st, and it's going to run through the end of April. So it's going to run for 2 full months. Because I need as much time as possible to try to figure out how to do it, since I'm fairly new to crochet. So, yeah, so I'm letting you know ahead of time, so if you need to get supplies, you can. So we have that running. The prize is as of yet to be announced. I have an idea, but I want to look through my stash. So there will be a prize, though, of some undetermined. Yeah, of something undetermined. We'll just leave it at that. Now, in my acquisition section, I got something interesting in the mail this week. I had ordered this from eBay, and it came in this little bag. It has a snap on it. It is from, I believe, China, looking at this, I'm assuming. But inside the bag was this. It is like a fake leather. I mean, it feels like real leather, but it's not. And it has a handle, but you unzip this. This was like a little over $18, but look at the inside. So let's go over what it's got inside it. It has 5 crochet hooks, and these are small. In fact, this one right here actually has a protective plastic thing on it because it's so tiny. I don't have any really tiny crochet hooks, but it has 5 in there, and it has spots along this. It has spots along this side to put more, because you can see the little pockets here. So I could put all of my crochet hooks in here. And then up here, it has, these are cable needles. And it has all these built-in pockets. This is a, yeah, that just happened all over the place. Now that I've spilled it everywhere, because that's what happens to me, I'll show you what's in there. There's a bunch of these removable stitch markers. There is a darning needle. And there are these little cone-shaped things. These you put over the tips of your needles to keep your stitches from falling off when you're not working on some. So there's a bunch of those that are now all over the floor. There are 2 stitch holders. You do those for like shoulders and sleeves and things. Then there is a small set of scissors and a tape measure. Okay, then in this little flap here, these are all circular needles. Now the sizes on here are Chinese sizing, so they are not going to be consistent with millimeter or with US size, so I will have to just use a needle gauge. And these are the knitting needles that I actually like, that I've recommended before. So it is a set of 11 circulars. And I do have these sizes already, but I use them all the time. So sometimes if I'm working on more than one project, it helps to have extra sets. Then behind this, these are all double pointed needle sets. So they range from the tiniest over here, and these are long ones too. These are probably like 8 inches. So they range from there all the way over to the largest, which are here. So, yeah, a little over $18. I'm really, really happy with it. So, yes, knitting case and little bag for it, and a nice way to store everything. So, really happy. Now let's get on to our sales for the week. Annie's has a spring pattern collection that has just come out. It's their 2019 patterns, so go over and check those out. Bluprint, which is the old Craftsy, has a sale on their Bernat blanket and their Bernat Brights blanket yarn, which is a chunky yarn, and it is for sale for $5 a skein. They also have their Cloudborn Sport yarn that's alpaca. It's a Cloudborn Alpaca Sport. It's on sale for $5.22, which is a really good deal for alpaca yarn. They also have Cloudborn Alpaca and Silk. I can't imagine how soft that is, but anyway, it's an alpaca silk blend, and it is $6.80 per skein. Consumer Crafts is offering a special sale for free shipping for purchases over $25, but the sale only runs through Sunday. So if you want something from Consumer Crafts and want free shipping, the free shipping only runs through February 17th of 2019. So you need to jump in there and do it right away. They also have some good deals on their knitting looms. If you're not familiar with knitting looms, they come round, they come kind of square, they can come flat, and they are, I don't even know how to describe them. You kind of make loops and you slip the loops over top of the other loops, and it looks just like it's doing the same thing you're doing with knitting needles, but you're doing it on a bigger scale. So loom knitting is meant for the most part to be used with bulky yarns or your heavier worsted weight yarns. Although they do make some knitting looms where the little pegs that you work with are closer together, so you can do smaller or lighter weight yarns. My granddaughter loves doing loom knitting. Actually, both of my granddaughters are into loom knitting right now. So they also have a very wide variety and some decent sales on the knitting looms if you're interested. Which brings up a point. My mother has a computerized knitting machine that she bought probably back in the 90s. But it's about 20 years old. Anyway, it's a Brother knitting machine. She offered it to me the other day. I haven't decided if I'm going to take her up on it, because for me, part of the enjoyment of knitting is the actual process. Hers is all computerized, so you basically set it up with what you want, you pick the pattern, and then you walk away and the thing runs all by itself. So it kind of takes some of the fun out of the knitting portion of it. But if you wanted to knit things like sock blanks to dye yarn with, if you wanted to make shawls that were just very, very, it does patterns, it does cables, it does everything else. But if you wanted to make things to sell at a flea market, they are, you can do it really quick, because I've talked to some of you this week. We were talking about doing different projects and how you never get you never get paid for the time you put into crafts at a craft sale. And so if I got into doing something like that, a knitting machine would be handy, simply because it would be less labor intensive. So I'm not sure if I'm going to take her up. I appreciate her offer, but I'm not sure if I'm going to take her up on it or not. So let me know what you think, whether I should or I shouldn't. Just let me know down below what you think. Speaking of knitting machines, if you watched in the show and tell portion, Edna got 2 different Addy knitting machines. Now those are circular knitting machines, and they're generally for doing hats. They do make sock knitting machines, which are usually they're metal and they're tinier for doing socks with. But the Addy knitting machines, they make like larger loops, so you can fold them in half and make a scarf. You can make a hat. She made a hat and a scarf, if you remember, on the show and tell portion. So she just got 2 knitting machines. So, and I've seen those Addy machines. I watch Margaret Olander of Sheepishly Sharing, and she has some of those Addy knitting machines because she makes a lot of charity hats, and so she uses the knitting machine to actually get them done faster, so she has them for charity. So, where was I at? Oh, that was Consumer Crafts, where I was talking about I totally derailed my sales section by getting off on talking about knitting machines and knitting looms. Let's get back to the sales portion. We are at Create for Less. They have all of their sugar and cream, which is the ones you use for dishcloths and things. They are on sale for $2.59. They also have Red Heart Cutie Pie on sale for $3.79. That's in their clearance section. Hobium Yarn is almost always 40% off. Knit Crate has a 20% off your very first subscription box. If you are interested, you must use the coupon code KCreations20 to get that 20% off, and you have to go through the link below to get that. Speaking of which, another little sidebar off of our sales section. I should have a video up this week coming with my February Knit Crate box. It has been shipped, so it should be coming in any time. So there will be 2 additional videos up this week. So we'll have the Wednesday tutorial, but we will also have a Knit Crate unboxing. So make sure you stay tuned for those. Knit Picks has 20% off of all of their gloss yarns, and they are that is their 20% off yarn sale that they always run on a special brand. Each month they choose a different brand and put 20% off, and this month is gloss yarns. They also are running 30 to 40% off all of their Felice yarns. Felice yarns are usually sock yarns. So if you're interested in making socks and you want some decent sock yarn at a reasonable price, Felice is a very well-known brand. So they are offering 30 to 40% off of that. Leisure Arts has some great deals on their knitting and crochet patterns. They do sell some yarn, but for the most part, they sell instruction books, which most of you, if you've been knitting or crocheting for any length of time, are familiar with. So, yeah, they are running some good deals on some of their patterns. And last, we have Lion Brand. And Lion Brand is offering up to 35% off your favorite wool yarns. So, now that the weather is going to be getting warmer, hopefully in a month or so, they are going through their winter stock, and they have, like I said, 35% off of their wool yarns. They also are selling a 3-pack of mandala yarn for $10 in their clearance section. So those are some sales to check out. So that is it for this week. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure you stay tuned Wednesday for the tutorial, as well as, I'm not sure which day the Knit Crate comes in, but there will be a Knit Crate unboxing. And if you have not already subscribed, please click the little red button down below. And if you click the little bell next to it, it will let you know whenever I post a video. If you've enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And some people ask, what does the thumbs up do? The more thumbs up you get, it actually bumps your video to the recommends list, kind of puts you higher up on the food chain for other people to check out your videos. So that's what the purpose of the thumbs up is it just shows your popularity, and the more popular you are, the more likely your videos are to be recommended to other people looking at like knitting and crochet podcasts. So that is it for this week. Thanks again for watching, everybody. And I'll see you on Wednesday and one other day this week. So have a great week. Thanks to everybody. Bye.